Hello and welcome back. In this video we will examine the results of all the Kumite drafts held for this past season. The main purpose of running these Kumites is to A. include more poolers in a draft, and B. run longer drafts. Our goal is to encourage the various people and publications to produce longer lists so that they can participate in as many Kumites as possible. The Kumites are a points-only draft. The draft orders are randomly assigned and the order of selection will reverse or snake back every other round. There are no positional restrictions and every player drafted counts towards the total for the team. We have removed all known retired, non-active NHLers, and long-term injury players from the lists. Inclusion into a Kumite was based on the total number of player projections. We had enough entrants to produce 8 Kumites. As we go through each draft, we will follow this pattern, showing the final standings and then displaying the randomly selected draft order showing the results comparing how each publication did relative to their draft position. We start off with the Kumite 12. In order to participate, a guide needed to have produced a list of at least 720 players. This resulted in a draft of 75 rounds where a total of 900 players were selected. Datsuk to Zetterberg won by a handful of points over Robert Coho. Pool hockey managed to secure third place. When we look at the random draft order, we see that Datsuk to Zetterberg's win was quite remarkable because they drafted from the 10th spot. Robert Coho had a better starting draft pick and almost pulled off the victory. Pool hockey and RotoWire also drafted from the bottom of the order and climbed up the ranks. At the opposite end, Top Cheddar, Dobber Hockey, and Evolving Hockey did poorly in this Kumite. The fact that Nikita Kucherov and Nathan MacKinnon did much better than expected, or that the Oiler combo of Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl didn't perform as well, could factor in the upset. We move on to the Kumite 16, where a list of 643 player projections was needed in order to participate. This draft went 50 rounds and a total of 800 players were selected. But it was a clear-cut thrashing by Ultimate Pool Preview with an almost 250-point advantage over the next best poolers, which happened to be Coho and Datsuk to Zetterberg. This time Coho and Datsuk to Zetterberg were randomly selected to draft first and second, and based on the previous Kumite's results, were fortunate to end in second and third place respectively. It was Ultimate Pool Preview who jumped from the 7th pick to first place. It is looking like we're going to see a similar trend in the other Kumites. Well, the Kumite 20 wasn't that much different in the final standings. This time, Ultimate Pool Preview won, but Datsuk to Zetterberg was within 17 points of them. Robert Coho was still near the top, but they ended up in 4th, while Fantasy Hockey Decision System nabbed 3rd place. Oddly enough, this Kumite also drafted a total of 800 players, but this time it was over 40 rounds. Ultimate Pool Preview drafted well back in the order from the 17th place, while Fantasy Hockey Decision Systems had the first pick overall. Datsuk and Coho were in the mid to late part of the draft order. The people drafting from the front struggled. We saw some changes in the Kumite 24. The winners were Pool Hockey, and it was a nail-biter. Dom Luszczyszyn lost by 4 points. Robert Coho managed to make the top 3. Let's guess where they all drafted from. If you guessed that Pool Hockey was picking from the back of the draft, you were close. They actually selected 14th overall. Dom L was picking from 19th and Coho from the 4th spot. Looks like to win this year you were drafting from the back, and if you were drafting from one of the better spots, the best you could do was 3rd. The Kumite 28 saw the return of Datsuk to Zetterberg to the winner's circle, and once more it was Robert Coho who took 2nd place. Pool Pro was the next closest competitor and ended in 3rd. Aha! This time the winners had better picks. Datsuk picked 4th overall, and Robert Coho was picking from the 9th position. It was Pool Pro who outperformed everyone else by taking 3rd place while drafting from the 2nd to last position. Is it possible that Datsuk to Zetterberg and Robert Coho have better results because their lists were actually better? Is it possible that the overall results will still show that a lower pick was better because there were too many predictions which went foul. Datsuk to Zetterberg took the top spot yet again in the next Kumite. Pool Pro placed in second and RotoWire was in third. Koho did take fourth place. Datsuk and Koho had better draft order positions in the Kumite 32. Pool Hockey and RotoWire were amongst the middle of the pack. This draft went 18 rounds and a total of 576 players were taken, so whoever was on Datsuk's list, the key players for victory were rated higher and were not some late pick flukes. The Kumite 36 repeated much of the same. Datsuk claimed the top prize, Ultimate Pool Preview returned in second place, and Canadian Sand Goggles made third. Pool Pro was within striking distance, but Koho was not. Canadian Sand Goggles drafted from the 35th spot, so that late position drafting thread is still continuing, but might not be as strong as we once believed. However, Datsuk's list does seem to have some magic in it. To illustrate how difficult this season was, #Hockey had the first pick, and they used it to select Connor McDavid. This gave them an instant 132 points, but over the course of the next 12 rounds, they had 8 picks who did not earn more than 27 points. This was the final Kumite of the season. We found a new winner, and it was Game of Chat. McKean's Hockey ended up in second, but it was a close race. Fantasy Puck was also a contender and settled for a third-place finish. Datsuk to Zetterberg hummed along into fourth, where Koho was right on their heels. This draft was only 12 rounds deep and had a total of 480 players selected. Game of Chat drafted with the 6th pick and ended up winning. McKean's had the 1st pick. Fantasy Puck had the 12th. Koho had the 2nd selection in the draft, whereas Datsuk to Zetterberg had the 28th pick overall. It should come as no surprise that the deeply prized guide for the Kumite deep drafts was Datsuk to Zetterberg. Congratulations to them. They had 4 victories, 1 second place, 1 third place, and 1 fourth place finish. They were competitive in 7 out of 8 drafts, regardless of their initial draft position. Others did challenge them, like Ultimate Pool Preview and Robert Koho, but they didn't have the same impact as Datsuk to Zetterberg. The question which now remains is, will Datsuk to Zetterberg continue their winning ways in shorter drafts? We will find out after we complete our Battle of the Hockey Pool Guide's 9-owner battles and the 8-owner Kessel Run testing. But before we end this video, we acknowledge that these Kumites are just one of outcome in many millions of possibilities, which is why we still have the other testing to run through during the summer.